Welcome to the Code Deploy GoLive podcast, episode 21. I'm Julie Turner, and I'm here with Andrew Connell. If you want to watch this episode as a video, head over to our YouTube channel. You'll find the link in the show notes. In this episode, we tackled a topic that seems to be a source of common misunderstanding or surprise to customers related to the Microsoft 365 Copilot experience. Are all Copilot experiences equal? Why do you get a different result depending on where you interact with it, be that in Copilot in Outlook, Word, Teams, desktop app, web app, or somewhere else? Keep listening to find out. This episode was recorded live December 11th, 2025. Hey there, Andrew.
Hey, Julie, how are you?
I am doing good, but you're maybe not as good as you could be.
I am not at 100%. I'm going to try not to be a man of many, many words and go run on, but I will do my best to mute myself. I'm in the recovery phase of having a bad case of the flu. Nothing like getting sick literally as you're like getting ready to get on a plane and then flying for all day from where was I? From Ireland. All the way back,
not Germany.
No, all the way back to Florida. Yeah, it's not fun. Like when you have a little cough and you just got the chills like all day. Didn't feel sick, but it was cold all day. And then thankfully my body held up until I got home, and then got really sick in the middle of the night. And next day I woke up and had 103.8 fever.
Oof, that's high.
Almost 48 hours. Told myself the next day, like, all right, I'm going to hold on to all my meetings. I'm going to just plow through them if I've just had any kind of progress, because I think I can make it. I woke up the next day, took the temperature, and I was like, no, it's better, but I'm going to cancel it. I'm only down to 102.8.
Yeah.
That like made me all like loopy and like I couldn't see, couldn't like focus on words. It was just
yeah.
So I feel better now, but I still like have a cough and feel like I'm just constantly frantic. So anyway,
that's tough.
Yeah. How are you?
I hate being sick. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, what have I been up to? Okay. I think the last episode we talked about the fact that we dragged our son to see, I don't know if I said this on recording or not on recording, but we dragged our son, my husband and I, to see a jazz concert. Awesome, great jazz concert. It was really good. And he actually was surprisingly like good about it. Like he didn't want to go, but once he sat through it, he was engaged in the sense that he wasn't like fidgety or whatever. He just listened. And, when we left, he said, hey, that wasn't that bad. And we're like, okay, great. So fast forward 2 weeks, the weekend of Thanksgiving, and I had thought I did this wonderful thing. So that show, going to see a jazz concert, was for my husband. But I thought for my son, how much he would enjoy seeing Cirque du Soleil. They had, 'twas the night before Christmas, Cirque du Soleil show in Boston. And he loves going into Boston and getting good food and whatever. So I buy tickets. We get great tickets to see this show. And he was miserable going again. But I thought, once he sits through this, he'll love this. No, he hated the whole thing. He kept asking me, when is this going to be over? This is boring. This is stupid. I was like, this is friggin' amazing. Both my husband and I are like, this is so cool. Like, it was so well done. And not for nothing, they completely planned this around like the preteen teen, like viewer.
His demographic.
His demographic. The music was for his demographic. The storyline was for his demographic. Sort of it starts out with the daughter on her device, doing stuff, not really caring about what her Christmas present was, and kind of blowing it off, and then it turns into sort of a little fantasy thing. And he totally this is dumb, and it was fantastic acrobatics. Just didn't care. I was like, wow. Okay, so we take you to jazz and you're happy. We take you to see a circus and you're not happy. What 13-year-old are you? Because I don't get you.
I mean,
it's so weird.
I can see someone saying that they don't like Cirque du Soleil, which, I mean, you said circus, and I'm like, if anybody hasn't seen it, I've been to a Cirque show, saying circus and Cirque du Soleil is kind of not the same. It's a show. But
yeah.
But to say that is boring. I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand you not liking it, but boring, I can't see that. Like, I'd be like, I don't know. Unless you are absolutely hammered, I couldn't imagine you would that you could fall asleep from boredom during it.
I just don't even know. Maybe just attitude. I don't even know it. But I'm at the point where I'm like, I give up. There is no engaging with you in this family because you don't want to. So whatever. Anyway, no, I don't really give up, but it was very frustrating situation. I was like, oh, okay. Teenage. Just 4 more years. It'll be okay. I can make it through.
That's interesting. Anyway. That's so interesting.
So that was my...
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Oh.
Well. Anyway. So that was me personally, but whatever.
I know I'll share a little bit more about it later, but I do want to say one thing. Last week I was in Dublin, not Germany. I was in Dublin for the ESPC. It's known as the European SharePoint Conference, but it's known as ESPC. It originally was called the European SharePoint Conference. I think they just stick with ESPC because it's a lot more than SharePoint.
It's brand recognition.
Yeah. And I would call it if not the, it is one of at least the premier shows that conferences that's in Europe every year. Absolutely fantastic conference, first class, everything. Short, very small little thing that's kind of funny about it. And then I'll get back to what my point was. Excuse me. I'll get back to my point was. I took my wife and my son with me to the conference. Son is he goes to college where they're on a quarter system. And so he's in the middle of a 6-week break between the first quarter and the second quarter. It's interesting. They've got 50-50 domestic and international students. And so when they do the Thanksgiving break in the United States, which is last Thursday of November, almost all schools shut down that entire week, or I think all schools do shut down that entire week. And because it's not a religious holiday, it's a national holiday. Instead of saying all the people who are international, and so Thanksgiving doesn't mean anything to them, they're not going to go home. So they're just gonna be hanging out for a week while everyone else goes home for vacation with families. And then they'll come back to school for a couple weeks and then do finals. And then everybody leaves again for Christmas, New Year's. Hanukkah, basically holiday break and New Year's break. There's no way those international kids are going to go home. So they're like, you know what? We're going to work this out. We're going to finish the first quarter the week before Thanksgiving, and we'll start up again until when most schools come back, the second week of January. So he has a 6-week break. So we're like, you know what? Your sister's in high school. She's going to be going to school. It's going to suck for you just sitting around doing nothing. Why don't you come with us? So that was his Christmas present, was a flight with us. And it was good because my wife had not been to this show before. She was going to come with me, and I was going to try and split away from the conference a little bit and spend time with her and go vacationing and just being tourists. But the closer we got to it, that was not going to be possible. The show is just so busy. It was good that he came so that the two of them could spend time together. But it was funny because I really appreciated it because it was great. Although they believed me before, seeing it's a different thing. When they were there, for them to go off and do their thing during the day, when I was at the event, I would see them in the early morning. I'd see them in the evening, and we could they come to the social stuff. They could still see how much you're pulled in so many different directions and how busy you are nonstop. Yeah. It was nice for them to see that firsthand. And then I found it kind of funny because my son asked, he said something that was construed or interpreted as, are they all like this? In terms of, whatever. And I was like, from a busy perspective, absolutely. These guys, this is a first class event. They're first class people. The venue's really nice. The parties are really nice. The conference party is nice. The vendor parties. It's that side of it. No, they're not all like this. This is a great experience. It's a privilege to be at this event and a privilege to be a speaker here. So it was cool for them to see that. And then for them to meet a bunch of my peers, you, and you weren't there, but
I know
bunch
what
of
you
our
mean, though.
peers, and then for same of them to meet a bunch of people as well. So that was they loved it. It was really funny seeing how what they thought about certain people, and vice versa. But one of the things I want to say about the conference was that I had a bunch of people come up to me at the conference and say some really nice things about the podcast.
Oh,
very
so
nice things
nice
about you. Had to apologize that they got the latter or the worst half of the hosts, and you weren't there, and they had to deal with me. But they also were really appreciative of like a lot of the comments they said. Some of this came from our peers, but a lot of them, this came from a lot of a random person that come up and would say something to me like, "Are you the one that's doing that podcast?" And I'm like, "I used to do one. I'm doing one right now."
Which one?
You're talking about the new one, right? Please tell me you're talking about the new one. You actually heard about it? It was really cool to hear them say that they really appreciate that you and I are speaking for a lot of developers out there, talking about stuff and saying things that other people are not talking about, and saying that they felt like it was great, that I felt like somebody was speaking on behalf of me, or like advocating me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. Really proud of the work that you and I have, about what the impact we're having on this with this show. And got to do something about making sure that you can be there next year. Hopefully I can be there next year, and then hopefully you can be there as well.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So anyway, just
that
wanted to say
would be nice.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad we're getting that type of reception. I mean, that was and is our goal. So I think I guess we're hitting the mark that we set out for ourselves, which is to sort of be an advocate or a voice for the community as far as Microsoft 365 extensibility in general.
Extensibility,
so
Azure,
awesome.
Confusion, not confusion, just whatever.
Right, exactly. All of those things. Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
well, speaking of us advocating, I think we should just do a quick little clarification from 2 weeks ago, our Ignite recap show. I think we both had a lot of confusion around the Agent 365 offering, and when that came out, I think it was confusing to read the blog post, the Learn documentation. All of that was super confusing, and we both were definitely confused. And since then, we've been able to get some clarification, and I just wanted to do one clarification because we sort of really got it wrong, and that's around the Agent 365 SDK. So Agent 365 is this platform for how you can have visibility into the agents that are deployed inside your tenant. And the Agent 365 SDK was somewhat confusing as to what it's for. So essentially what I have now is that the Agent 365 SDK is a way to enhance any of your today custom engine agents to be fully managed agents in that Agent 365 platform landscape, right? So those agents the custom engine agents would show up in Agent 365, but in order to fully integrate into it, you need to implement that SDK into your agent so that you get full compliance, telemetry, governance, and all the things added to it. And so in my mind, I kind of think of it a little bit like the App Insights SDK. Like if you want to tool up your solution so that it has intelligence about what's happening, eventing, you can add that SDK, and then you can add additional events into the App Insights, that has a general integration maybe with your Azure function. But if you want to go further, you can add that SDK into your solution and add more color to into into App Insights. So I kind of think of it similarly, like it gives you that added tooling that you need to be able to have. And some of that is notifications. And I'm not incredibly clear on how I understand what it is in general, but I think we'll get more into it at some later date. But I just wanted to clarify that.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm surprised you didn't call out the fact that I texted you in a thread when I was like, oh, you know what? You were right, Julie. I was wrong.
Andrew, I was trying to be nice to you today because you are feeling under the weather, and I wasn't going to say I told you so. But now that you bring it up, obviously I was right and you were wrong. There's nothing new here. I just, I'm being generous today.
Let's see if AI helps us with the title and says, like, Andrew admitted it. He was wrong. Julie was right.
Yeah.
Title would be the title of our episode
We don't
today.
have to do that.
Do that. Well, I just did it. So at any rate,
all right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting more into that. I tried to watch, I found a couple of videos, a couple of breakout sessions about Agent 365 from Ignite. I watched them when I was on the treadmill. I watched them when I was on the treadmill at the conference in the mornings, and kind of walked away like, I asked some people about it at the conference, like, you guys know anything about this? And they're like going, not really, because you can't use it yet. It's not really there. It's all vaporware. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't understand. And so one person at Microsoft told me that it's just a toy. And I was like, what in the... Okay, so yeah, we will... I know you and I want to dig into this more. We want to learn more about it, and hopefully we'll have a conversation, probably have an episode about it, because it looks like it's going to be a big deal. I love your analogy, though, about App Insights. So
thanks.
That's cool.
Every once in a while I have a good analogy. I like an analogy.
Okay. Very good stuff. Very, very good stuff. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, I was going to say, should we get into the meat of the episode? Are we ready about that? We're going to talk about how Copilot specifically is different inside of the Microsoft 365 landscape, depending on how you access it or where you access it from, more accurately. And so I think we'll sort of start there. And then you have some takeaways from ESPC around this same topic. So we'll morph into that.
Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm definitely ready. Yeah. I know it's confusing as hell to me and to a lot of other people.
It is. So, this whole thing started back about 3 weeks ago. I posted on LinkedIn about an experience that I had with Copilot. I was doing some work and I knew that I had a meeting with a particular client, and I had their name, and I tried to start there, but I knew I had a meeting, and I knew I had recorded that meeting and that there was a transcript and notes. But I needed to get back. The way to get to those notes, there's no at least I don't know about, there's no place to just go, where's all my meeting notes, and like their tabs, and you can just go, oh, this meeting or this meeting. It's not like that. You have to go to your calendar event or the Teams meeting. Like if it was, you had a chat going and the meeting is down in the chat or whatever, you have to go to that, and then you can see the Teams recap and whatever. So I was like, oh, well, let me just go find the calendar event. And I started scrolling through, and my calendar is really full. I've got a lot of little blocks in there, and I just didn't see it. And I knew it was sometime in the last month, but I couldn't remember exactly where. So I said, oh, here's a use case. Let me ask Copilot in Outlook. So if you're in the Outlook client and you open Copilot up from there, I initially asked it, please find me the meeting in my calendar with such and such, and I gave them the name, like the person's name from it that happened in the last month. I'm paraphrasing what I probably typed, but it's like, nope, no meeting like that. And I'm like, no, I'm absolutely sure I've had a meeting with, and then I put their email address, which would have been the calendar invite email address, in my request. I'm like, no, I'm absolutely sure I've had a meeting with this email address in the last month. Please find that meeting in my calendar. Nope, no meeting like that. I'm sorry. And I'm like, now I'm pissed. So I go to my calendar, and now I'm looking at every friggin' meeting, and I go back. And this takes me somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes. And I finally found it. I'm like, there it is. That's the meeting. I open it up. Sure enough, it's the meeting. It has the meeting recap in it, and the invitee is the email address I put in the thing. So it's literally just find this friggin' meeting invite by the user that was requested. Couldn't find it. It was so frustrating. And I was like, I'm posting this to LinkedIn. And it's just like, it's not necessarily that it failed. It's that if it fails at that level of simplicity task, that's setting people up. I'm like, if I weren't who I am, I would never touch Copilot again. I'd be like, give my license back. This is crap. I don't need this in my life. And I think it just sets the wrong message. And so it reminded me of Collab Days New England, which was back in early October, when somebody brought up that exact same topic. He asked me anything, and basically asked the panel, why is Copilot so terrible from Word or Outlook or whatever? And you had a really good answer for it, and I thought maybe we could just talk about that in a little bit more detail today, because I think that is confusing. Like, it feels like the Copilot desktop app or Copilot in the web gives a much different experience than the Copilot agents that are embedded in the apps, versus even still Copilot Studio agents, versus still declarative agents, versus, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different landscape here, and how good those Copilots are really depends on where you're entering them from. And I think we should address, it's obvious that you have some knowledge on this, and I think it'd be good to address for people to understand where those differences lie.
I love it. I love this topic because it is one of the, I call it like the dirty little secret. And
it is.
There's a reason why. I can explain the reason why. And I think that when you understand what's going on under the cover, as an educator, as somebody who loves to explain and teach stuff to people, a lot of people are like, how do I make this work? And it's like, let's not. And of course, I'm the kind of person that I start to give this answer, and people are like, oh, this is not. I don't want to hear this. You just give me an answer.
Yeah.
Like, no. I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm just going to give you the fish. I'm going to teach you how to fish. And I think what you have to do, if you understand how something works, that usually will describe what your different experiences. So I think it's a couple different, there's a couple of angles you have to look at the way you come at this. It all boils down to one, but it not only is going to matter where you're using Copilot, because, and what experience are you going to the app that's inside of Microsoft Teams, be that the desktop, the web client, or the mobile client, or are you going to Copilot, the m365.cloud.microsoft, or wherever, wherever you end up after you go to outlook.com and you get redirected 30 or 40 times. So that experience is one. That's all that wraps into one. Then you have a different experience where, like you said, if you're inside of any of let me back up. That experience I just mentioned a minute ago, that's called Copilot Chat. It used to be called Biz Chat, Business Chat. Now we call it Copilot Chat. The other experience that you talked about, like inside of Word or Excel or any of the Office applications, I don't know if this is an official term, but inside Microsoft, it's referred to as App Chat. So
yes,
Biz Chat or Copilot Chat is like chat with Copilot. That other experience is the App Chat experience. It's still all Copilot, but it's architected differently. So that's one aspect to it. The other thing you have to look at with this, and all this is going to come back to one thing. The other thing you have to look at to this is if you're just talking, whenever you're talking to Copilot, right? So whenever you're doing it either in Biz Chat or in one of those App Chat experiences, you're doing it through an agent, right? Not that you built one. There's a default agent that you're working with, the one that Microsoft created. It's like the generalist. So I like to think about it as, if I had a question about an Excel formula, I'm going to go out to Microsoft, and what's my experience going to be like if I walk up to Microsoft and I just go into the front door and go to the receptionist and say, how do I do a VLOOKUP? And the receptionist is going to look at me. The receptionist will look at me and be like, WTF, dude, can I page somebody for you? The generalist that can't answer that question, right? So that's the general experience there for Copilots. This is a general piece. One of the things that you can do is you can create custom agents, and there's a bunch of different ways to do that, but you can create a custom agent, and that's more scenario specific, and that's where we can kind of coach it, saying, you work for this scenario, you're really good at Excel formulas, I want to talk to that agent instead of talking to the person at the front desk. And that Excel agent is going to help me with formulas. It's not going to help me with doing a PTO request, right? Depending on how you create, on what you use and how you create that agent, be it for Microsoft 365 Copilot, be that using as a SharePoint agent, so going to a document library and saying create a SharePoint agent, be that if you're in the Copilot app, like BizChat, and you click on in the navigation, I think it's on the left-hand side, where it's like create an agent or new agent or something like that. That is referred to as Agent Builder, and then they renamed it to Copilot Studio Lite, and it now looks like they're going back to Agent Builder because no one liked the name.
I hadn't heard that part. Okay.
Yeah, it was like I don't think it was really officially named that. I'm trying to like nail that down, but like all the marketing at the Ignite conference back in November, they were using Agent Builder again, and they're using the icon is a little bit different, but it's like
not for nothing, but we need to just like boycott name changes. Like, I refuse to accept your new name changes. I refuse, because you're driving me absolutely batty. Nobody can keep up with it, and it's like accelerating confusion to 11. Why 11? Really, because it's higher than 10, Andrew. It's higher than 10.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with you at all. My joke was that I think that the naming at Microsoft needs like a shelf life like milk and butter and eggs do, because it's only good until the next conference. So like this name is good until about a week before build, and then it expires and it may change again. Right?
Yeah. So, and that's a whole conversation about potentially work IQ, which maybe we'll talk about sometime in the future. All right.
Just a marketing bullshit. Okay.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Mm-hmm,
sorry, was that out loud? Did the recording kill it?
Oh, yeah. That's okay. I agree.
It's funny. I mentioned that. So I came up when I was out at the conference last week, and I'm like, I don't get it. Is that really something? And they're like, even the Microsoft guy was standing next to me goes, it's all bullshit. It's just a marketing thing. It's a rename thing for like what you think of as all this other stuff. And I'm like, why'd you guys rename it? And he's like, well, and I'm like, never mind. I got it. I don't even need an answer, because just like all the other renaming things, a lot of them are just bullshit. So anyway, okay. So it depends how you create your agent. SharePoint agents, Agent Builder. You can go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com, which is Copilot Studio Full, which also has a new logo. Or you can create a declarative agent using the Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit for Visual Studio Code and deploy it that way. Or you can go over to Foundry and create an agent. Anyway, when you create an agent, or how the agent was created is the main driver that is going to dictate what the experience is going to look like. What's happening under the covers, and not going to go into detail about this because I really need my slide to be able to do this. And I know it's a video show, but for those of you who are listening in the car, you're going to be like, I'm lost after like 30 seconds. When you send a prompt to Copilot, and not just Copilot, like all these other AI chatbots work the exact same way. But for the most part, they work the same way. ChatGPT, Claude, all these guys work the same way. Your prompt goes to something called an orchestrator. That is just a fancy name for a program to say, what do I do? And it's going to talk to a language model. It's going to go get data from different data sources. It's going to go do things, calling REST APIs to go post or get data, maybe having some autonomy, maybe having some triggers, workflows, whatever. It doesn't matter. The orchestrator is the brain. That's Copilot itself. With all these other supporting pieces, that's the app itself of Copilot. There is not, most people think that because Copilot, everything's called Copilot, you think that you're using Copilot. The problem is there is not one Copilot. There are multiple orchestrators that Microsoft has implemented, and it is all driven based on how the agent was created. So, for instance, when you're in app chat, when you're in like Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, those all run under one. I think that it's one, but it may be two or more. Those all run under one orchestrator. Okay, that is the app chat orchestrator. I don't know what his name is or her name is. I know what the name is of one of these orchestrators. Their name. There you go. Thank you. I know what the name of one of these orchestrators is. I don't know what the name of what the other ones are. So app chat orchestrator, he works or they work one way. If I'm over in SharePoint, I believe SharePoint has its own orchestrator, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
If you create an agent using Copilot Studio, they have their own agent as well. Sorry, their own orchestrator as well. All right. And that's one that runs over on the Power Platform and all that stuff. Copilot still interacts with that orchestrator, but that orchestrator is running over with Power Platform. They're the ones that have created the business logic and having access to the data it has access to and all the features. That's why when you go into Copilot Studio and you see all these things you can do, including access to Power Platform connectors and different data sources and all this kind of stuff, that's why you see different things there than if you were going to create an agent using the Agents Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, because that uses the OG, that uses the original orchestrator that Microsoft was working on. That's codenamed Sydney. That's the one that we hear a lot about. Now, each one of them has different features, limitations, nuances, different things like that. And I can't speak to the one, I don't know much about the ones that run App Chat and like the experience that you had, but I'm gonna make this up, a little bit of this up, but it's also based on some other experiences that I've seen with this. All right. And this is interesting because like every time I talk about this, it's one of those things that I have at least a certain cohort of people that are listening to this. They have this like, wait a minute, what are you they're not all the same. They're all different. Then the question is why? Well, they can get to that later. But then the other question comes up is like, how am I supposed to know which one to use? I did this at the European SharePoint Conference last week, right? The ESPC. Mark Rackley and I did a workshop. Pretty cool. One of the best workshops I've done in about 10 years.
With Rackley?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It went so well. It was so well. We didn't lose anybody.
For those of you listening in, I'm just giving him a lot of crap because that's our relationship. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Mark's a great guy. It was a lot of fun because we have we're really good friends and we make fun of each other nonstop. And so if you don't know that we're really good friends, then it looks like we're really like not friendly. But what we did was I'd go through and explain this. We had people come up to us afterwards going, it was worth the registration for the conference and coming to this tutorial just to understand and hear that, because that just unlocked a door for us that answered some stuff. So a couple little bit of insights with this. And I'll tell you a real world story that I have, and I think that you could probably swap out your experience with Outlook, with your Outlook Copilot experience, and say that this is the same thing that happened to you. So, and this is not an exhaustive discussion because I could go on forever about this. So when you use Copilot, right? And one of the things that Copilot does, let's just look at one thing that's a major difference. So Microsoft will tell you that, Copilot is grounded in your organizational data. So it's one of the big things it has, it's grounded, blah, blah, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, you're like, well, apparently not a meeting.
Well, apparently not a meeting in the app that controls meetings.
Right.
So I just want to put that out there.
It's fair. It's totally fair. And they explain this and I explain this and people are like going, yeah, but that doesn't excuse it. I'm like, no doubt. I'm right there with you. So the way that one of the things that Copilot does, this is the one of the big moats, the big special sauces that Microsoft has with their chatbot experience and Copilot over these other ones like ChatGPT, Claude, and all them. Is this thing called the semantic index. So if you've worked with SharePoint before, you upload a document to a document library. Within a few minutes, that document's going to be indexed, and you can go to Microsoft Search, do a search for it. Ta-da! Document shows up. Allegedly, hopefully it does.
That's a different show. Right. Go ahead.
Not sure that I'm going to be in.
Nope.
What it's doing is it's creating a keyword index. So it looks at that piece of content, it extracts keywords from it, like old school Google search, saves that into a big index. And then when we go do searches, we're doing keyword searches against the keyword index, finding matches, get these matches back, and then all the matches are listed out in the search results. We those are not actual documents. When I click on the documents, they take me to the document, or click on the search result, takes me to the document. So what in the world of AI, one of the things that people have figured out is that if we can index that content, not using a keyword index, but we can semantically index it. So we can say that these words are more related to these other words, those words, and like a dog and a puppy are more related to each other than a dog and a cat. A puppy and a kitten are more related to each other than a dog and a cat, right? So you see things where it's a 3-dimensional like grid of how closely these things are related to each other. And so they're semantically related. So people who have looked at this stuff at all, it's like, okay, we're taking a document, we're creating these big chunks, we're running it through this model, it's generating this numerical thing. We call it an embedding. We take those embeddings, we save them into a vector database, common ones, Pinecone, Azure AI Search, et cetera. And then when we want to search for it, we create our search query. They create an embedding from that, and they use that as the search query against the semantic index to get a list of results of like content that is semantically relevant, right? Okay, so why do I say all that? Because Copilot is never just going straight to Microsoft Graph to get your data. Microsoft says that, right, but that's not the case. The content that Graph has access to is a way for Microsoft 365 it uses as a trigger to say, oh, look, there's Julie's meeting. That's brand new. Let's index that, semantically index that into the semantic index. Okay, cool. What the Sydney orchestrator does when I'm inside of Copilot proper, right? So inside of Teams, what it does is when I say, go show me my meetings today, it runs a query looking for all of Andrew's meetings. And it does that by looking at the semantic index and finding all of my meetings that I have access to, okay? All right, so how is that different though from anything from these other orchestrators? They don't work necessarily the exact same way. For example, if I go create an agent using using Copilot Studio, the Copilot Studio orchestrator does not have the ability to talk directly to that semantic index. What it does is it has to go through a separate API to get access to the content inside the semantic index. So what we're doing then is we're going through some other development team's business process code that they've written to dynamically write some query that is then going to be executed against the semantic index and come back through the API that they're going to have access to. So they're going through a separate layer. So I saw this, a friend of mine reached out, said like, Copilot sucks. I'm like, oh, I mean, some things, yeah, but like context. He goes, oh, I built this agent. It sucks. It only gives me 3 documents back from SharePoint. And I know for a fact there's a lot more than that there. And I was like, what'd you use to build it? Copilot. No. What'd you use to build it? Copilot. I'm like, no, that's not, you don't use Copilot to build Copilot. What did you use to build your agent? So they sent me this huge email back with a bunch of links to learn.microsoft.com and just look at the path. And I'm like, so you use Copilot Studio? Because I see Copilot Studio all over. And they're like, well, yeah, I use Copilot. I'm like, no, Copilot Studio is not Copilot, dude. Look at the URL. It's why it's called the URL, copilotstudio.microsoft.com. I went and looked at it and I was like, okay, that makes sense because when it's making that query to go find your documents, it's not finding all of them. It maybe is getting all of them, but the orchestrator is only giving you 3 items back. Like, yeah, so Copilot sucks. I'm like, well, maybe that orchestrator sucks. Maybe it's not the whole story. Like, what do you mean? It's like, why don't you go build the same thing using Agents Toolkit? I've never done that. Okay, cool. Tell you what, just give me your instructions. Give me everything about your agent, and let me play with it. Let me give it a shot. And sure enough, built the same thing, ran the same prompt, built the same agent, They deployed it inside their tenant. They ran the exact same prompt. 10 items came back. And they're like, what the hell? Different experience. Different orchestrators. So what I think probably what you were seeing is that I'm curious if you went to not inside of Outlook, but if you went to general Copilot and ran your inside of like not app chat, but if you went into it in Copilot and the Copilot chat and you did the same prompt,
I would have gotten a better result.
I wonder if you would have gotten a result. Yeah, that you were looking for.
And I might have, but I was mad and I gave up on it and found it. And once I found it, I didn't need to ask again, but I should have probably done all that. But the bigger point here is it was not, I mean, I get how it works and I could have figured all of that out, but the bigger point was more around the idea that Outlook controls my calendar and my email. So if I'm just a general user, where am I going to go to ask that question, preferably?
You're going to be in the app.
Because I'm in Outlook and I'm like, hey, I can't find this thing. Oh, look, there's this agent right here. Let me ask it. The fact that the app chat for Outlook is not grounded, that's maybe the wrong word, but very targeted to making responses around the data that it is controlling feels so wrong, like such a huge miss. And I mean, back to my point, this is an experience that Microsoft can't afford people to have. If they're trying to drive adoption and get people to pay $30 per user per month or whatever it might be to adopt Copilot into their organizations, you just lost them, right? Maybe they do it for a month and then are like, yeah, no. And maybe this is why they're making you have a year-long commitment because maybe you'll, like childbirth, forget the pain that you've been suffering with it and just sort of leave it there. I mean, that's a pretty nasty thing to say. But the bigger point is that's not making it worthwhile. Like, I don't know why I would want Copilot at that point. Do you know what I'm saying?
I totally do. And I think it's a fair thing to say. I think one of the things you're going to see that I see people ask when this comes up, aside from the frustration, when I said that in that workshop last week, Mark and I literally urged somebody up front when I was explaining this, and dude up front is like, what the, and said the other word and started laughing. I'm like, right? Is that not frustrating? Like, how are you supposed to know this stuff? And if you really dig around in the documentation, like, I mean, really dig around, it would take me probably 30 or 45 minutes to find it. I'd probably actually go use Google to actually find where I found it. But if you really dug around trying to find it, it's hard to find in the documentation where this is mentioned. When I learned about it, I had somebody from Microsoft tell me about it. And they told me about it as kind of like dirty little secret. Don't share this with anybody. And then I found it publicly written somewhere and I'm like, cool, I got air cover on this. It is a very frustrating thing. It is not obvious. It is not something, I don't think it's something that that you should be expected to know. It's one of those things that you just had to talk to somebody who's been through this and they can kind of coach you through it. So now when I see that there's a weird experience, it's just, all of them work so differently and they do a terrible job. I think Microsoft does it just across the board. They do a terrible job of having any kind of empathy for their customer, of like how they're supposed to know how this stuff works. When I go use Claude, when I go use ChatGPT, or I go use Gemini, I don't have that issue. Like it's a better user experience. But in Microsoft, it's like going, oh yeah, well, it's because the document is this big and you uploaded it this way and you're using this app chat experience. Like, why does that matter? It's all called Copilot. Like, oh yeah, but they're all different. Like, you didn't explain it that way. Like, I'm using the same Copilot experience. You built this agent with like, there's these two, you build the same agent twice. One of them with Microsoft, with Copilot Studio. One of them was the Agents Toolkit. They're both running inside the same Copilot app. And you're like, but I'm getting different responses from each one of them. Yeah, one of them is probably using Copilot Studio's Orchestrator. The other one's using this one. How do I switch it over? You recreate it from scratch and you do it with a different tool. It's crappy. I do know that it wasn't always like this. They actually forked it a little while ago, like a couple of years ago. I do know that they did have there's an effort to where they're trying to consolidate down. But those two, especially the big ones, Sydney, the one that runs for declarative agents and the default Copilot experience, and the one that runs all of the Copilot Studio ones, we're going to be living with those in parallel for a while. Fun little fact about them too. Here's a trivia thing for you. And this is not like a pitch for me to be like, oh, hey, look, you should definitely be using Agents Toolkit for building your agents, not Copilot Studio. This is just something to keep in mind. You know those first-party agents that Microsoft creates, like Researcher and all those other ones?
Yeah.
They're all done. They all use Sydney. They don't use they're not built with Copilot Studio. They don't use that orchestrator. They use the Sydney orchestrator, the OG one, that's got like tens of thousands of people, engineers that are working on it. Literally tens of thousands of engineers that are working on it.
Well, that's a little interesting tidbit, isn't it? Just while you were talking, I quickly opened up the Microsoft 365 Copilot app on my desktop, put it in work mode, and asked it to find me any meetings with the person. I didn't give it an email address. I gave it the person's name. Fascinatingly, what it found me was 2 meetings from January and February of this year and no other meetings. Yet
was it one of the ones you were looking for?
No, the meeting I had was in October. Didn't find that one.
And you said it was the Copilot, like the native app on Windows?
Mm-hmm. In work mode.
I wonder if you went into Teams and went to that Copilot app and tried it and see what it said. Because I don't know if I don't know if it's the same thing. Like I don't use the Copilot app. I always go to the one in Teams or the m365.cloud.microsoft.
We're going to ask. We can quickly ask. I can copy and paste this prompt. All right. I'm in work mode. I actually think this is the same experience. The Windows app, the Teams app, and the Microsoft 365.com, I think is the same thing. But let's just see. Let's just see what it does. It's thinking. It's deciding.
It's ridiculous that it's like this. And this is just one of those
searching.
things. That's like a fallback.
I have to say, I've been playing with Claude because you suggested I try it. So I was playing with Claude. I have to say I have a lot of fun watching it come up with different ways to tell me it's thinking.
Yeah. Like, oh God, yeah. Flabbergasting, like.
Fascinating. It gave me the exact same answer.
Okay, so then that to me, like the whole phrase "code smells." That's a smell that tells me it's that the Windows one is also using Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I'm gonna try one more thing. While we'll keep going, but I'll try one more thing by putting that user's email address instead, just to see what happens, because that's fascinating, and we could maybe find something out. Anyway,
I did. So while you're waiting on that one to come back. And interrupt me if it does.
No, that's okay.
I think we kind of buttoned up that topic, but
we did. We did.
I did have one of the takeaway and a show idea that I'm curious if other people would be interested in from the conference was around SharePoint Framework. I was really taken back by the amount of interest in the SharePoint Framework sessions. So Vesa Yuvinen for Microsoft and Bert Jansen from Microsoft did a session. They did like the whole like fire marshal, lock the doors, no more people. And they did it a second time in a different room the next day. That room was packed. I was like surprised at how many people were there. And it was talking about like futures. It was talking about the new release that just came out yesterday of 1.22.
That did get released yesterday. Very cool.
Yeah. They were talking all about that, and deprecations next year, big year for everything dying. And then I did a session, actually like literally was on the way to the airport and, picked up another session, because somebody had to cancel. And I did a session on the build tool chain, detailed, like, here's how it works. Here's how the whole thing is done. Hour-long session. And then here's all the different ways you can customize and extend it. And again, that session was, not advertised until the week of the conference, and that one was packed. They didn't lock the doors, but like 70 some people. I was shocked at that. So a lot of interest in SharePoint Framework. Lot of
Well, while you're coughing, I will tell you that asking, again, we're in the app in work mode, and I asked it the exact same question. I just replaced the user's name with their email address, and now it found the meeting that I had, and it also brought back the summary of the notes from the meeting because the meeting was recorded and there was a transcription or whatever. So it brought back the meetings, the action items, related note files, and then lastly, it gave me other meetings with said person, but there's no summary recording, and gave me the list of the other meetings.
Well,
With
okay, there you
same
go.
prompt, only difference was I changed it from user's first last name to user's email address. So
But when you
interesting.
did an Outlook, you got nothing. And when you did it,
Right.
okay, interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Sydney was doing better.
Yep. Much.
The other thing that I will say that I thought was interesting about the conference, and I'm, I'd be game to do this. I think you and I can have a good conversation about it. Was I did a panel with Elio Struff towards the end of the conference about like the future for developers in an AI world or something. And it was like, how are you using AI?
Yep.
A lot of like fear, a lot of like, here's different ways I'm using it, a lot of questions, a lot of discussions with some attendees. It's a really good conversation. And like how developers are using it, scared of losing your jobs, all that kind of stuff. I think it'd be a great conversation for us to have that's not super technical, but just like, how are you using it? So
yeah, I think it was one of our picks from way back of a Diary of CEO around this topic. So I've sort of adopted that viewpoint of, if it's my bread and butter, I'm going to be very careful. But anyway, we could go into more depth. That's an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah. If you guys are interested, if you listeners are listening, you like it, you're interested, let us know. Drop a message to us on LinkedIn, on Blue Sky, on
one of those platforms.
Yeah. Let us know. Oh, YouTube.
Comment.
Yeah. Sign up for the newsletter, reply.
One of those.
Cool.
All right. Well, did we cover everything you wanted to cover? Is there anything more that you wanted to bring up?
No, that horse looks pretty dead. Yep, we beaten him up.
Very good. All right. Well, then we should move on to picks. And since I'm hosting, it is your pick first. What do you got for us, sir?
I just binged through a show on Netflix that I have had like this curiosity to, but not enough that I really wanted to go watch it. And then I finally started watching it and I binged the hell out of it. It's called The Lazarus Project. Have you watched this?
No.
So it's a mind bender. I was going to say a different one. It's a mind twister kind of a show. So the concept is, I hate spoilers. So I'm gonna do my best to be a little vague here, but enough that you'll see from the trailer.
Okay.
The idea behind the Lazarus Project is that you have a way to go back in history, like hit rewind and try again, and not as an individual, but as like all. So, like, think it's July 1st right now. All right. You hit a checkpoint and 2, 3, 4 weeks go by. And all of a sudden there is a nuclear exchange between two countries. And it's like, oh my God, millions of people died. This is a terrible extinction level, thing. They issue a code black and we go back to the last checkpoint on July the 1st. Let's try it again. And
this has so much ramification, but okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a lot of it's all like time travel stuff, right? It's not like time travel, like super sci-fi kind of type stuff. It's like time travel stuff that's more like, okay, I could buy this. It was really good. I was bummed out it's got 2 seasons. I thought the last 2 episodes of the last season were like, you wrap that up a little quick, guys. That's a little.
I hate when they do that. Yeah,
writers.
No, that's when the showrunners are like, yeah, we're not getting renewed and we got to just close this out. And they do a really shitty job of it. I hate when that happens. Happens happens to me several times before. I don't want it again, so I'm out.
Yeah. It's like one of those, like they start finishing and I was like going, damn it, guys, you got your money for this season. You know you didn't get picked up for another season. Like, come on, man. Finish through, man. I know you're about to lose the game, but don't sit there and put in the scrubs just because you're losing the game.
Yeah,
anyway, that's my pick. What about you, Julie?
Cool. You know me and loving to watch my food/adventure stuff. I stumbled upon a new YouTube show that's made by a brand. So there's a brand called Huckberry. They have like a menswear outdoor catalog type of thing, and they've started making this show called Dirt. And the host is a guy named Josh Rosen, who used to be like a snowboarder and like an adventurous type of person, but he's into food now. So this is adventure meets food, and they pick a location and they kind of do it in a somewhat Anthony Bourdain style, but definitely not high end. This is like low key. We're just going to explore whatever location in an adventure/food way. So essentially what the guy does is they start the show with the chef that is the chef for the episode, and they have a little interaction, and then this guy goes off and goes to different places, like on a journey, and collects ingredients along the way and has adventures and whatever. So he's collecting ingredients as he goes, and then they come back at the end, and that chef takes all the ingredients that he collects and they have a feast. And so it's just fun. It's just really fun. I started with the episode the latest episode is Switzerland. The episode before that was Maine. And that's what got me into it, because YouTube served it up to me because I'm from Maine originally. So, Maine would obviously come up, and it's fun. They went to Lewiston, I grew up in Lewiston, Auburn area outside of Lewiston, Auburn. So they were in Lewiston for one of their episodes. I'm like, I know all about that thing they're at. So that was kind of cool. But, it's really fun. Full disclosure, the guy is hot, like there's that aspect of it.
I'm going to go tune in right now.
Candy, and I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it, but it's really fun. Other than that, like it doesn't, it's not only that. It's really, really, really well filmed, really well done, really well executed. And so I'm enjoying it a lot. So that's my new thing that I'm like, ooh, a new episode of Dirt. And I'm trying to like get all the back episodes in. So
very cool.
Very fun. Yep.
Very cool. Awesome. Cool. Two good picks. Good another chat. And
yeah.
I didn't cough that much. I thought it was going to be a lot worse.
No, you did great. You did great. You didn't even need cough medicine. You're all good. All right. We did it.
Awesome. Good to see you again, Julie.
Good to see you. Talk to you next time.
Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We are on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. All the links are in the video description. If you have a question, head to codedeploygo.live, where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.